So I've gotten a lot of questions asking how I get my different textures and patterns to my different pieces. So I'm going to show you how I do them. So one of the simplest ways is basically get a ball hammer like this. And you can just hammer the piece. So if you have a hard surface or an anvil like this and a hammer, you can literally just tap around So all you have to do is tap around with the hammer and you'll get that nice hammered pattern, which is probably one of the most basic ones that you see everywhere. The other way you can do that and get different types of sizing and everything to these, so you can use a dapping set like this. And the dapping set comes with some very tiny little ball points that you can use. So it's basically the same premise, but you just put this where you want it and tap the top of it with a hammer. So as you can see, they're a lot more noticeable for one, and they're smaller. And you can just go through different sizes and add different ones at different times if you want, and give it a really unique look. So one thing about putting textures onto pieces is you're going to have to add this prior to making your piece if this is cut exactly to the shape you want it and you want the edges to be nice. Because if you look here, if I'm hammering on this, on the edge like that, and this is supposed to match up with something perfectly, it won't anymore because it'll stretch this material and make little bumps. So you'd have to cut this down and rematch everything. But if you already textured this piece, then cut out what you needed, that wouldn't be a problem. It's a lot more noticeable with the smaller little punch. So you can see right here how these make divots now and stretch the material outwards. So just keep that in mind. Unless you're going for this look, then do it afterwards, but I suggest patterning your piece and then cutting it out. Another thing is, if you're hammering a piece and you want it to be shiny under, like all the hammering marks, make sure you polish the piece first and then hammer it, because you're not going to be able to polish in there really well, and if you do, you're going to take off a lot of your pattern. So another thing I'd like to do is make my pieces more of a matte finish. So this is a brushed look to it right now, and I have these little wheels. This is a 400 grit wheel that I'm going to use. So it's not picking up real well on the camera, but this is more of a uniformed matte finish, and this is more of a shinier scratched brush finish. And if you don't have any of that, you could literally just use a piece of sandpaper and get some nice looks from it. So if you just push everything in one direction, you can get a nice shiny finish that has a lined texture to it. And then if you seal it like this, it'll stay like that, and it'll almost shine at weird angles and stuff like that. It actually looks really nice. So this is an option, so you don't have to polish everything. So if you want to get some really uniformed or just different patterns like these ones, you're going to want a roller mill. So this is my roller mill. These are pretty expensive tools, and they're supposed to be bolted down, and mine obviously isn't because I have a very limited area to work with, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for me. But if you do get one of these, and this is one of the cheaper ones, like I said, make sure to bolt it down. It makes your life a lot easier. So, with the roller mill, it actually came with a textured roller that has two different textures on it, and a smooth one, which I also have another smooth one and some rollers for making wire, which you have to disassemble this entire thing to do. So that's one drawback to the cheaper version. But if you don't have a texture roller, you can use different materials like this piece of fabric to make different patterns. So by using this, I got this pattern. But just to show you how the actual roller works and everything, here's a piece of annealed already copper that I've cleaned off in pickling solution, and then I just brushed it so we would have a kind of smooth finish to it. And I'm just going to put it into the roller mill and adjust the top of it so it actually puts pressure onto it. And then I'm just going to turn it. And this is where bolting it down would come in really handy. So that's a nice little line finish there. And what I'm going to do now is get it to make a like checkerboard finish by putting it in this way. Or technically putting it this way. So it's going the opposite direction of what the lines were before. So now I have more of a cross pattern there, and the other side will be completely clean looking. But like I said, if you wanted to use this to get its pattern, you can just put the piece and then feed it through. You might have to adjust your height because you just made the piece thicker. Okay, there we go. So here's the back side. So now it has that nice pattern from the fabric. Also, if you look at the fabric, that's how much pressure it puts into it that it's now pretty much fused together. So pieces like this, I would suggest rolling them. Make sure that this is annealed or you're going to have a harder time. And then hammer this back down or anneal it again and lightly tap it down so it's flat. Then put your pattern onto it and cut it out. Oh, and here's the other pattern on the opposite side of the roller because it has two different patterns on it. So that's the one side, and then this is pretty much the other. And then fabric. So you can use other things like lace or certain types of paper or leaves, but make sure the leaves are dried, because you can actually rust out these because they're just raw steel. So to get my scratches like this and the little cuts through everything, I use actually two different tools to do that. I use a file, usually a needle file that has a edge to it, and I use a jeweler saw, and use the saw to lengthen and deepen some of these cuts. So I'll take this piece, and with the edge of this, you can also use different ones of these. I broke the last one I had, so I have to use this for now until my other one comes in. You turn it on its side like so, and just go across in a pushing motion. And depending on how you want the edge of this to be, you can angle this up a lot more. And take away material on the outside, so you'll have a more cut look, I guess. Or you can use the saw and go in and make some cuts. These cuts will be a lot more straight, and the other ones will be more of a triangle. So this can be done after your piece is made or before. It just depends on what is all on your piece and how much you want to go with these scratches. So for instance, like this one, this was done after the piece was made, and you can tell I didn't go that far because I would run into my stitches right here. This one was before I put all the stitching in, so I was able to go farther with a lot of my cuts. So this is just some of the ways that I put texture and change up how my work looks to make things pop and just look nice. And of course there's a bunch of different ways you can do this, and there's a bunch of other materials you can use that I didn't even mention in this to make textures. The easiest way to do it is with just, of course, a hammer. But if you can afford to get a roller mill, it makes everything easier, quicker, and you can get more detailed and more consistent patterns. Well, thank you for watching, and if you need any of the tools that I showed in this video, I'll make sure to link them in the description below. And if you do happen to buy anything using my link, I actually get a small kickback that helps support the channel. And if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, leave a comment below. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. I try to put out new videos like this every week. Well, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.